So in conversation, you'll often hear how people will deal with their stress and various hobbies they may have to help with that. And I think journaling for me has been a very easy one to stick through with. I'm a serial starter, so when I start a new hobby, I will just go through it one to one to one. And for me, it's been easy to stick with journaling. It's been easy to stick through with it. And it really helps me slow down. It helps me figure out where my thoughts are at. And it's just an easy thing to do. So how do you do journaling? Well, first of all, how do you journal, right? The first thing is that you can have pens and you have paper, and you take the pen and you turn your little chicken scratch handwriting into perfectly legible words that only you hopefully will see, and you go from there. And with journaling, it's a thing where I can basically recount my days. I can sort of motivate myself. I can look at what I've done. And I feel like it was something I didn't really know if it would help me, but it really just sort of kept me on a consistent schedule of slowing down and actually getting things done, which is something I've very much struggled with. So with journaling, I guess the best way to put it is it really helps with stress. So yeah, basically we're gonna get through some basic tactics of how I journal, how I go through like certain things with how I journal, and what pens I use, what paper I use, all the fun stuff. So let's go from there, and yeah. So but first, let's talk about the tactics. So of course you got bullet journaling. Of course you got, writing logs and writing just sort of long paragraphs, like you're writing a letter to a friend. You can address it to anybody, really. You can write to the void. And with journaling is you can kind of do really any type of activity, and you're going to get a lot of great help from it. So with maybe we could do gratitude journaling. What gratitude journaling is you write a bunch of things you love about life, and it helps you kind of be more positive in the mind, and just sort of be more focused on what you've enjoyed in your day. For me, though, I think that's the basic journaling of either bullet journaling or just writing big paragraphs really helps. This all started one day when I was sort of just wanting to make a change. And I used to journal back in my teenage years, now in my 20s. I didn't really journal or do much of that. I didn't have a dedicated journal, and then I just kind of found a random empty journal. I started journaling, and from there, it all took off. And I really thought it was a very engaging hobby for me, and I'm a big believer in it now. So it was a really cool thing with where I just kind of went into it and went from there. So for the direct benefits, you're really not going to notice much at first, but what it really comes down to is you're slowly sort of putting your feelings down. You're not letting it stay in your head. And it's very underappreciated with how people just kind of let things pile up. They don't take time to just be with themselves. And journaling allowed me to just be with myself, just be me, just be with myself. And it really helped. And from there, I mean, it's really just a kind of tool to let me recount my days. Back away from acting like I know exactly what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. This is a great experiment, I guess, is the idea. It's sort of just, what is this going to do for me? And honestly, it hasn't done a crazy amount, but I do think it's helped with just general things I've done to help get my life moving a bit forward, actually making progress, being more productive. With my writing, I want to be a screenwriter. With my videos, as you can see, there's also how do you address it? Are you speaking to a friend, or are you speaking to yourself? I think you might say, dear myself, or I just sort of go, date, here's what happened today. I'm sort of speaking to myself almost in a third person like view, but also just how I would talk in my own head. So I want to go back a little here, way back. Where did it all begin? I mean, like, obviously back in the day, they didn't have technology, they didn't have smartphones. But I also think it's interesting to think, why did they start journaling? Like, why did people just start writing things down? Obviously, they're bored, but also they wanted to be more individualistic, I think. I think the history is they wanted more, the individual got more recognized, especially with the Renaissance era. And with the Renaissance era, we had people sort of journaling travel logs and sending letters to each other. And then, of course, there came the period of the 10th century in Japan with pillow books. People were writing down their dreams and so forth. It was mostly for the noblewomen of Japan, I believe. And then we go to today, where, you have online journaling, which is another tactic, I should say. Like, Notion's a big thing. So it's really become an important ingrained thing, writing in general. And I think with journaling is you're getting really close to your personal voice, and you're learning more about your personal voice as you're keeping logs and journals. It's interesting, as we lived, it's been always really cool to reflect. Journaling is as good as the piece of paper you write on. So different kinds of notebooks. So you have your Moleskine, you have your composition books. I like the Moleskines. There's all kinds of books. You can go to Barnes & Noble. You can find yourself a nice journal. You can go to Staples, find yourself a nice journal there. Or you could just use your computer. Whatever you'd like to do. And there's a lot of different things you could do to really get yourself sort of writing on a nice piece of paper. Whatever appeals to you, whatever's easy to write, and as well as just whatever's easiest to write with. There's different kinds of pens as well. I prefer the G2 pens. Also this pen, I forget the name of it. It's a cross pen. It's a little fancy office pen, looks very nice. As of writing this, I did lose a pen, but I've since found a lot more pens. I'm a big pen fan. So benefits of journaling in the hobby is fun and cool, and just sort of being more academic, being more a writer is always great, and just keeping up with those hobbies. But also, to be honest, it's just more about keeping your thoughts down, keeping them consistent with what you want to do, and really just keeping track of how you're doing as a person, checking in with yourself. But I do also feel like, you know, it's just a good hobby to have, and I keep up with it here and there. There's times where I do drop it. But yeah, I could talk all day. I don't know exactly how helpful journaling is, but for me, it's like, honestly, just kind of helped me. It kind of helped me just be with myself more. It takes a lot of stress for me, because I would often just some days sit with myself and think and just introspect, but actually having an organized thing for that is a really important hobby, I think, especially for people who are neurodivergent, like ADHD and stuff like that. It really does help. It really does make you sort of become more focused on your inner voice, and I think that's an important hobby to have. That's about it. But if you have any sort of tactics for other people with journaling, if you have any sort of direct benefits for yourself, I recommend really dropping that in the comments. And thank you so much for, you know, catching this brief time for me to just talk about some random hobby and self-care tactic I use. So thank you very much, and have a good one.